You did not get married expecting to be here. Nobody does. You said the words, you meant them, you had a plan, or at least a hope that this would be different. And now you are sitting in the situation you never imagined you would be in, where the person you chose and the life you built together are coming apart, or feel like they are, or you are not sure what they feel like anymore, which might be worse. I'm not going to tell you this will all work out. I don't know that. What I want to do is show you what the Bible offers: a marriage in crisis, not as an easy answer, but as an honest one. And I want to be clear up front. If there is abuse, physical, emotional, or otherwise, the first conversation is with a counselor and possibly with the authorities, not with this video. This episode is for the marriages that are struggling without being dangerous, where the connection has been lost, where the distance has grown, where two people who chose each other are wondering if they still can. I want you to think about this. What would it take for you to believe that this marriage could still become what you hoped it would be? Leave your honest answer in the comments. I would love to read and see where you are. Now, before we start, here are the key scriptures we're going to look at today. Hosea chapter 3, verse 1, the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman loved by another and an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, while they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for it. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 7, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Matthew chapter 19, verse 8, he said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, allowed you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it has not been so. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 18, let your spring be blessed. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. The book of Hosea is a strange and searching marriage story. God tells the prophet Hosea to marry a woman named Gomer, knowing she will be unfaithful. She is. She leaves. She ends up enslaved. And God tells Hosea to go and get her back. Go again. Love a woman loved by another and an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, while they turn to other gods. The marriage of Hosea and Gomer is a living parable of the covenant between God and Israel, a people who kept turning away from the one who had chosen them. And the theology underneath it is stark and uncomfortable. God does not simply accept the broken state of the relationship and move on. He pursues, he redeems, he brings back, not because Gomer deserves it, not because the terms were being kept, because that is what covenantal love does. But it asks a question every struggling marriage has to answer. Is this a contract which can be voided when the terms are breached, or a covenant which exists to be honored even when keeping it is costly? Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. We looked at this verse in episode 9 as a description of character to look for in a potential partner. Inside a struggling marriage, it lands differently. hopes all things. This is the one that matters most in a marriage crisis. Hope, the sustained expectation that what is not yet true could become true, is a choice about where you orient your attention. The marriage that is currently broken is not necessarily the marriage that cannot be repaired. And the person who has checked out of hope, who has decided that the current state is the permanent state, has made that decision before the evidence is fully in, endures all things, not forever, regardless of everything, but longer than the current feeling, long enough to find out whether what was there can be recovered. Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, allowed you to divorce your wives. But from the beginning, it has not been so. Jesus is honest here in a way that deserves careful attention. He does not pretend that divorce does not exist. He names what the provision was for: hardness of heart. The permission to divorce was given to address the reality of human brokenness, not to establish the ideal. From the beginning, it has not been so. The design was permanence. And the reason God says through Malachi that he hates divorce is not that God is indifferent to suffering in bad marriages. It is that the breaking of the covenant always produces damage to the adults, to the children, to the capacity to trust in every relationship that follows. Most marriages that feel like they are falling apart are not beyond repair. They are in a season, often produced by accumulated distance, unaddressed resentment, the slow drift of two people who stopped investing, that feels permanent, but is not necessarily so. The research on marriage is consistent. The couples who get professional help have significantly better outcomes than those who do not. If you have not been to a counselor, that is the most important next step available to you. The investment required to repair a struggling marriage is significant, more than most people expect, but consistently less than the cost of the alternative. None of this means that every marriage can or should be saved. There are situations where the abuse, sustained unfaithfulness, the complete absence of willingness on one side that the Bible acknowledges. But most people watching this are not in those situations. Most are in the painful middle ground of a marriage that has lost its way and is wondering whether it can find it again. It can, most of the time, with the right help and the willingness to stay long enough to find out. Lord, there are people watching this in real pain right now. Not the dramatic crisis, the quiet erosion. Meet them in that, not with a guarantee that everything will work out, but with the stubborn, pursuing, covenant keeping love you showed through Hosea. The love that goes back, that redeems, that believes the broken thing can be made whole. Give them the courage to try, to get help, to stay long enough to find out what is still possible. Amen. The verse in Proverbs 5 is not usually quoted in conversations about struggling marriages. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. That word rejoice, samak, is the word for genuine active delight, not resignation, not tolerance, delight in the wife of your youth, which means the person you are looking at across the table right now, or not looking at, is the same person you chose, not the same as they were then. Neither are you, but the same person, changed by the same years, who is still there. The invitation is not to pretend the difficulty is not real. The invitation is to wonder whether what drew you to each other in the beginning is still there somewhere underneath the distance and the hurt, waiting to be found again. Most of the time, it is.